The dark road stretches out before you. There is no one. There is nothing.
I had a paranormal experience when we were driving back home on Highway 50 between Lewis KS and Kinsley. It was about 10:45 p.m. There were 5 of us in the truck, but only my husband and I saw it. The ones in the back seat were asleep or distracted. We were just driving in the dark when suddenly we both scream, "What the fuck? There is a man on the road." We both saw a man standing on the white line facing away from the road, some weird angle, and he had a blue shirt, cargo shorts, and hiking boots on. He was of white skin tone and very slim. He was bald. His head appeared smooth with no hair or ears. My brother in the back said, "Where? You're lying," since they did not get to see the person. My younger brother wanted us to turn around, and I just said nope. As I looked in the side mirror, I didn't see anything anymore. As we were explaining what we saw, my sister tells us she has seen it before. She was asleep and woke up to us screaming. It creeped us out because she saw the same shirt, shorts, and description, except in a different location, 40 to 50 minutes apart. She said one night with an ex, they were driving out to his father's ranch and they saw the same guy, also standing on the white line, but was dragging a suitcase. Except they did turn back around because her ex was being nice and wanted to offer the guy a ride. When he pulled up next to him, he rolled down the window and kept saying, hey man, do you need a ride?" When it suddenly turns around, it's faceless with no eyes, no nose, no mouth, just smooth. They get scared and drive off quickly. Creepy thing is, she was asleep when we saw the same faceless man. What does it mean if you come into contact with a faceless person, and what are they?
I grew up in North County, San Diego. I don't live there anymore, but this story pertains to the road leading through Lake Hodges, a reservoir and hiking spot in Escondido, California. It's a gorgeous but spooky area. The lake is surrounded by sleepy canyons filled with yapping coyotes and old farmhouses spread out among big lots. There are barely any streetlights on the residential streets cradling the lake. The lake itself has some dark history only locals might know. A high school girl got raped and murdered while jogging along the main trail when I was around the same age. My best friend's sister and her friend found voodoo dolls and knives stuck to some oak trees along the trail once. Creepy shit. San Diego looks nothing like the Deep South, but Lake Hodges has a similar complex about it. It feels like something unspeakable has happened there. When I was in high school, around 2009 to 2011, my friends and I would drive around and smoke cigarettes. We listened to new music and had existential, adolescent conversations. Often, we would drive around at night. I believe the first time this happened was in late winter of 2010. We were driving down the windy road, past the point separating the dam from the rest of the lake. As we were about to turn a corner, we saw this figure of a tall man standing on the side of the road. He had his thumb up, looking to hitchhike. His hair was wet and black, and the best adjective I can conjure for him is slimy. He was wearing this wet trench coat, and his face was wan. When our headlights met his eyes, they looked vacant, yet melancholy, staring off into space like a zombie. But still, there was something soulful about them. I can't explain it. and it's been over a decade, so I've had plenty of time to reflect on the strange sorrow I witnessed in him. Anyway, he vaguely resembled a drowned pirate, and we were all terrified. A few months later, same thing. We saw the same figure hitchhiking a bit further down the road. This time, we were even more mortified. A hitchhiker in the same place, in the same clothes twice. A year or so later, I had returned from college for spring break and was catching up with my same friend, barreling down the road. Somehow the topic of the hitchhiker came up. My friend told me that she had just seen him again recently, at a different spot down the same road at night. We commented on how we knew he was a ghost, or just not human. My main questions are still, why would a hitchhiker always be looking for a ride along the same road, always at night, and seemingly only in the early part of the year? And how the hell is it so obvious he's dead?
Last May, I went for the first time to Las Vegas and rented a car to go see the desert, also my first time in a real desert, with the intention of taking photos of the starry night sky as far away as possible from the light pollution. I drove all the way to Rachel. Then after the sunset, I started driving back towards Las Vegas. I stopped due to the wide shoulder. I set up my tripod and camera and started taking long exposures. While I was doing that, I heard footsteps. I had a good bright LED flashlight, so I turned it on, and as I started to go all around the car, the footsteps stopped. I scanned in all directions, saw nothing. Maybe it was my imagination, so I continued taking more photos. The footsteps started again, and again I scanned all around with a flashlight. The footsteps stop, and I see nothing. I walk back to my tripod and camera, wondering if I should take more photos, and I hear more footsteps. So I grabbed my gear, threw it in the car, and noped the fuck out of there. I used to deliver vehicles people would purchase online or from other states. They would pay for the bus ticket for me to get there, and then pay for all the fuel and have this predestination route picked I had to follow. Every time I stopped for fuel, I had to call in and tell them where I was and how much it cost to fuel up. Had to even keep track of the miles from when I picked up the vehicle to the drop-off point. I jumped on the bus in Texas and went to Corona, New Mexico. I got this Nissan Altima and was driving up to Kansas City, Kansas. I got right outside Mineola, Kansas, right off Highway 54, and it was about 2 a.m. I was driving along, windows down. It was a cool night and I had the radio off and was just driving along. I saw this deer jump in the road and I swerved to miss it. Ended up in the ditch, and when I got out to check the car over and the tires, I heard this blood-curdling scream that pierced the silence of the night all around me. Sounded like a woman screaming. I looked around and didn't see any deer or anything running around. I didn't see anyone in the distance either, as far as I could see with the flashlight. I got in the car and said fuck this shit and got out of there and kept driving. When I got to the nearest gas station, I called the person and told them what happened, and told them the car was fine and there were no scratches or flats or any damage to the car. I ended up delivering the car safe and sound, but I never went back down that highway again.
Hey guys, I just had an encounter that I'd like to talk about. I was out for a drive this evening through some back roads outside my small urban town around 10:30 to 11 p.m. I've driven these roads dozens of times before, and I've never had an issue. Until tonight, that is. Just as a preface, there are little to no houses along these specific roads, and there's never traffic, so it's very isolated. So I'm cruising around the twisty roads, enjoying myself and kind of in my zone, when I come over the crest of a right turn that goes up a hill, which then sweeps down into a flat left turn, which has a guardrail along the right side of the road. As I crest the hill, I was going fairly slow, 40 to 50, as there are often deer and possums in the area. I notice a moving figure along the guardrail. I begin to slow some more, as I figure it's a deer and don't want to hit it. But as I get closer, I realize it's not a deer. It looks like a man. At this point, I'm barely moving, just creeping forward as I get closer to it. And I realize it's a man who's crouched down in a sort of Slav squat, and he's now turned around to look at me. In my headlights, the first things I notice are he's not wearing any clothes, save for a pair of tidy whities or an adult diaper. His eyes are oddly large for an adult man, completely brown or black, and his skin is ghostly white. As I approach, I turn my brights on, and he didn't even flinch. By now, I've completely stopped and started to reach down to get my phone, as I wanted to take a video. This was a huge mistake. I looked away for a split second to grab my phone from the passenger seat, and as I'm starting to look down, he starts sprinting at me. He's running directly towards me. Fuck. He gets up to my window and starts screaming. Not just like a man yelling, but like all the rage he's ever felt is coming out at this moment, and it's directed at me. He starts pounding on the window with his fists, all the while screaming his head off. This lasts for about 3 seconds before I throw it into first gear and peel out. It felt like a whole minute. As I'm accelerating, first gear in my car takes me to 40 miles per hour. I look in my rear view and realize he's keeping up with me. It's not until I get it in second, then third, and then take it up to around 80 that I can no longer see him. He was running at inhuman speeds trying to keep up. I flew the rest of the way home, afraid to stop or look in my mirrors. I got in the driveway, ran inside, and typed this up. I have no idea what I encountered, but I did, and I hated every second of it. I'll be finding other routes to take when I take nighttime drives in the future, just to be sure I don't meet him again. Edit. It seems there's some confusion as to how fast I perceived the guy was running. I wasn't trying to imply he was running upwards of 50 miles per hour, though I can see how it reads that way. I would say around 20 miles per hour max, as I started to pull away as I accelerated.
I fell asleep at my boyfriend's house. When I woke up, it was 1 a.m. and I had an 8 a.m. morning class 2.5 hours away. I hate driving that far so late. I also hate not getting enough sleep during the night. I got dressed and headed out. I had to admit, getting out of the city had never been so pleasant. Without the normal traffic, and it was cool enough to roll down a window without feeling like you're sitting in an oven. My music was blasting, there was nothing but open road, me and the occasional car or truck. Surprisingly, I wasn't even that tired. It was pitch black out. All you could see was what my headlights illuminated, and a billion stars up above. It was beautiful. Driving across the plateau was my favorite part of the trip. During the daylight, you could see the vegetation start to change and some beautiful mountains in the background. The temperature had dropped a little, and I was singing along to my driving playlist at the top of my lungs, performing yet another great car concert. At the same time, I was constantly scanning the side of the road for coyotes or other wildlife that may wander into the road. If you've ever had close encounters with game, you know how important this is. Mid-song, I saw something move from the right side of the road. The entire thing happened extremely fast, but I remember every detail. My peripheral vision caught something white, causing unusual contrast just outside of the range of my headlights up ahead. As my eyes focused, I saw that it was on the move towards the road. I still couldn't see what it was, but it sure had my attention at this point. I started to ease off the gas just in case. I also turned down the music. As it moved into my headlights range, I could make out the figure of a woman in a white robe or dress, moving at a fairly quick pace. I could tell that if we both kept speed, we would collide up ahead. Between her long flowing white dress and the shrubs on either side of the road, I couldn't see her legs, but I knew she was running, fast. For a split second, I doubted my sanity. A woman in a white dress, in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night? Maybe I was more tired than I thought. She was still running towards the road, but she seemed to have slowed down a little. I could now see her long blonde hair, and I was trying to get a look at her face, to see her expression, to figure out if she had taken notice of my car plowing down the freeway, to see if she was running towards me to get my attention, if she was scared, or if she was maybe laughing and it was all a late night prank. Anything really. Anything to help me figure out my next steps, after not hitting her obviously. I slowed down considerably, but I still wasn't sure if I was actually going to stop the car. I had heard stories of women in distress stopping cars of people that were then never found alive ever again. No thank you. She was almost to the edge of the road now, right ahead of me. I still couldn't make out her face, but I could tell she wasn't even looking in my direction. She hadn't noticed me or the car at all. I slammed on my brakes hard and swerved into the left lane, completely unnecessarily. The second she had reached the pavement, she disappeared, disintegrated, just went up in smoke right at the edge of the road. With my car barely rolling at walking speed, I searched the side of the road. No trace of a woman. I searched the road behind me, ahead of me, next to me, nothing. No woman, no other cars, nothing. For a second, I thought about getting out and looking for her, but decided against it. I took note of the milepost and drove off. Was that even real? Was I so tired I was giving shape to the shadows? Why would shadows be bright white? If she was real, where did she go? I took out my cell phone and called the police. I decided to word the incident differently because I wanted them to actually drive out there and check, and not have me committed instead. I told the operator that I was driving and I thought I saw a woman wandering around next to the highway, near the milepost I took note of. That it seemed weird for someone to be out there in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night, but that I was alone and didn't feel safe stopping. The answer I got was that highway patrol was not far from there, and they would check it out. I remember checking the news for weeks, but nothing unusual about that area was ever reported, other than a few accidents or roadwork alerts on the highway. For years, I tried to convince myself I imagined the whole thing, until I came across stories about the lady in white. I don't know if that's what it was, but I know I saw something that night. Has anyone here ever experienced anything like this? Hello watchers and listeners, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed that video, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. A huge thank you to all the Reddit users who allowed me to use their stories. The link to each story is in the description below. And a very big thank you to Insidious Nebula for joining me on this one. If you enjoyed his narration, please be sure to go over and check out his channel. I'm sure you'll enjoy his content. I know I do. As always, Thank you all so much for your continued support. I really do appreciate it. And remember,
Papa loves you.